the first ever click of the 3080. We just got 260 for a second there. It's mad. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. The very first RTX 3080 build is finally live on the PC Centric channel. Of course, the star of the show is very much this, the RTX 3080. I am so incredibly excited. We're going to be putting together this little build for you, showing you all of the parts, showing you how to actually put it together, and then of course show you the benchmarks. And this time we'll talk a little bit more about temperatures, thermals, all of this good stuff, so you can actually see how this thing performs. Here we go, and just look at this thing. This is the RTX 3080. You can see the whole design is completely different to last year. Now we have two fans, one on each side. It is quite a big card, but it's not really anything that's too excessive if you've used a third-party card before. The only thing to watch out for is this 12-pin power connection, which at the moment you're going to have to use a power adapter that comes in the box, which there's no other word for it, is incredibly ugly, but there should be some third-party adapters and cables that will get around this problem in the not too distant future. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Look at this thing. Yeah. Now the platform that we're going for is Intel i9, just because it has the best CPU single-core gaming performance. The motherboard that we're using is from Asus ROG. This is the Maximus Hero 12, and I've been using the Hero boards for years. They're awesome. Only thing with this one is it is starting to get a little bit expensive. We're looking at just over £400 at the time of filming for this, which is not cheap, but then again, neither really are the rest of these components. And if you are going to want to overclock this chip as far as it will go, this is an excellent choice. Now, I wouldn't normally move on to the power supply next, but it is very important in this build because the 3080 is a very power-hungry card. This is a very good one from NZXT. I've used it in a sponsored build, actually. They sent this out a while back, but it's very good because it's quiet, it's reliable, it's gold rated, fully modular, so you can upgrade the cables and things later if you want to. It is a power supply though, not the most exciting thing, but just make sure you are getting one that is going to keep this whole platform, I guess, fully juiced up. Something that is way more exciting though is super fast storage. Here we have 2 terabytes of Sabrent Rocket. You can get an upgraded version of this that will go for PCIe Generation 4 for even faster speeds if you're going for Ryzen. Not including Windows, this is around about 9 Call of Duties, so you know, it's going to fill up fast. Moving on to the RAM, here we have some Trident Z Neo, 32 gigabytes of the stuff, which isn't essential. You can get away with 16, but we're building a luxury PC here. It looks really good, and I know a lot of people are very anti RGB stuff, but memory does look pretty good, and the Trident Z is some of the best stuff on the market. Corsair Dominator might look slightly better, but it's a lot more expensive, so I would go for this. Our CPU cooler is what I would describe as upper mid-range. There's not really any need to go for anything bigger than this unless you're really serious about overclocking. For everyone that just wants the right balance between something that looks really good, is quiet, performs well, and does allow you some overclocking headroom, then something like this is the way to go. This is from Cooler Master. It is the ML240L. But the reason I picked this is because it goes along with our case. It is literally going to light up and look absolutely incredible, but because of the full airflow mesh style design, you not only get something that looks a little bit edgy, but is going to be perfect for putting high-end components like we have here today inside, and actually being able to get the most out of them without running into any thermal or noise issues that could well happen in other cases. But before we jump into the build process, here's your chance to win the ultimate tech bundle, as I've teamed up with FastHosts to bring you the Techie Test. FastHosts offers a huge range of web hosting solutions to give you the means to bring your awesome projects to life. If you're based in the UK and you're looking to build your own website, blog, or portfolio, then FastHosts gives you the tools to build a super strong web presence, regardless of your experience. Find a domain name that works for you and nail down that brand that you've always wanted, and then build and host your own website with easy drag and drop templates, no coding knowledge required. If you're in the UK and you want to win your very own dream setup, then simply answer the following question. When referring to computer motherboards, what does ATX stand for? Enter today and learn a little bit more about what FastHosts can do for you with that link down below. Let's actually crack on with our build though. I am so excited about this. And as always, we're going to start by actually building on top of our motherboard. If you're new to the channel, the reason we do this is not only to give ourselves a little bit more light so we can actually see what we're doing, but it just makes it far easier to actually start building all of the things on your motherboard rather than reaching in and doing it in your case. Our motherboard, very jet black, but this is of course going to light up like a Christmas tree if you want. I always like to start with our processor. So grab your CPU, line up the little gold arrow with the one on the motherboard, and then just drop it down into place. Then you can grab your RAM, and here I'm using 4 sticks, but I would actually recommend grabbing 2 of 16 because then you can upgrade it to 64 in a few years' time if so desired, whereas at the moment we are stuck with 32 forever without replacing the whole lot. As we're using a PCIe SSD, we're going to remove this lower slot and place it inside. If you're just using a SATA SSD, then you can skip this bit. I've been defeated by the box. Why can't I open this? This is not the difficult bit. If you've never seen one of these things before, they are tiny. I mean, that's smaller than my index finger. Just insert your NVMe SSD, screw it down into place so that it's nice and secure, and then put this little heatsink back down, making sure actually that you take this protective film off, because I almost did a doo-doo there, didn't I? That would do nothing if you haven't taken that film off, other than making you look like a right numpty. Which now means that we can grab our case from the floor gang. Why is this so tight? I swear they do it just to spite you, don't they? They're like, you know what, let's make his build really difficult. Let's tighten these as much as we can. I think I'm getting ahead of the game, actually. It depends what cooler you're using, but it's going to be a little bit easier just to put the back plate on this motherboard now, then put it in the case and go from there. Get your back plate and push that through the holes. And then once complete, it will look like this. And now it's ready for your case. Notice this big gaping hole at the back. That's where the I/O shield would go. Otherwise, lay your case down flat and then just drop this in. Assuming you're using the right size motherboard for the case, you won't need to fiddle about with standoffs. Very gently, just screw your motherboard into place. All done then. Motherboard, case. The rest of the cooler should be pretty easy to assemble. It's just quite a long process. It's not the best bit of the build, to be honest. It's always worth doing a little bit of a test fit just to see where everything is going to go. So we're going to have something along the lines of this, but it's more for the fans really. So once you've decided on a radiator location, you want to make sure that your fans are actually blowing air the right way. So we're going to put these fans so that they blow out of the case up the top. You have to almost think in reverse. It's weird because remember, these cables need to be at the back side of your case as well, not the front. So the amount of times I've plugged this in and then had to redo it is insane. Do a test fit, seriously. Entertain yourself at this stage because nobody wants to see me screwing fans into the radiator. What? Remix. This bit gets a little bit fiddly, but now you need to screw the pump head unit together with the 4 screws and the plates. But before you get too excited, again, do a little test fit, make sure it's on properly. But then you're going to need to use some thermal paste that does come in the box. Ta-da! Then just secure this with the 4 thumb screws. Pretty simple, this bit. You also get this little fan splitter in the box with this cooler, and I don't normally use them, but in this case it's going to make cable management so much easier. So plug this in where it says CPU fan. And then at this stage you're going to want to plug in anything that needs to go at the top of the motherboard now, which is our PSU power cable, and then our addressable RGB for the front fans. Just plug in our addressable RGB. We've got our CPU fans and stuff here. If of course you had a non-modular power supply, then you would need to insert the whole thing right now, but as we've gone for something a little bit fancy, we don't need to do that. So we're after the one that says CPU. So just pull the cables through and then gently insert them into place. Don't worry if you do have a spare one like we have here. That's normally just for extreme overclocking and you don't need to plug that in. Now we can get back to mounting our radiator. So just get it back where we want it. Now I did cock up a little bit because I did not get another one of these fans to match, so I'm just using a spare Fantex one that I have in the studio, but I will actually link all of these parts down below along with the fans, so that if you do want to buy an extra and make this look a little bit prettier, you can. Our power supply is incredibly easy to install. You just need to place it down, making sure that fan is facing downwards as long as you do have bottom ventilation. But because it's modular, you need to choose all of the cables that you're going to use in your build and then plug them in. You need a CPU, you need PCIe, ATX, and then any SATA or Molex devices for any of the accessories. Plug in our nasty power connection then. We'll want to replace ASAP. There we go. At least they're all the same color. You're going to get someone in the comments go, actually I prefer my graphics card because you don't need to use this power connector, so I don't want it anyway. 100%. Give it a little spin then, and you can now see all of the cables that we need to plug in. We've got our HD audio, which plugs in down here at the bottom. All these little tiny ones for the front panel go all the way here on the right. USB 3 I've already plugged in, it's this big fat one here. And that is, I think, all of the I/O cables done. All of the fans are plugged in, RGB, everything at the top, all of the power cables. It just leaves the 3080. So you've got to understand that this is a big, big moment for me. I've not used this yet, and this should unlock 4K, 120 Hertz on pretty much any screen at ultra, maybe high settings, but in theory this should be ultra settings across the board. 4K 120 with ray tracing, DLSS, all of that good stuff should be possible. The big moment, the first ever click of the 3080. Woo! That sounded good. Okay, so that's bad. I think we can probably do a little bit better by moving these cables a bit. I mean, yes, that does look better. That's definitely the best I'm gonna get it, but I think there's still some room for improvement. But otherwise, that is our PC done. Shall we test it? Here we go then. We have noise. We have a light on the RTX, which is just what we want. Keyboard, mouse. We just need something to come on this display. Fingers crossed. It's looking really nice actually. That RGB really does reflect on the 3080 and gives it a really nice edge. Yes! Oh yes, new CPU installed. This is gonna be glorious. And we are here. Horizon Zero Dawn PC version, ultimate settings, and drumroll, 90 frames a second. Like, oh. Unfortunately, the game has crashed. Fortunately, the load times are ridiculously fast as a result of our PCIe SSD. And yeah, we're getting around about 90 frames a second, completely ultimate settings, 3440 by 1440. This game is just beautiful. Obviously, it is a PlayStation 4 port. It's definitely not very well optimized really for PC, let alone brand new Nvidia cards and drivers, but it's doing a good job. Let's really test Nvidia's card though with some ray tracing and DLSS, as this is essentially meant to be a literal game changer. You can see here we have everything on high, well, high preset anyway, high ray tracing, high everything, VSync off. So here we are then, 82 frames a second at the moment, not too shabby. And remember, this is with all of the ray tracing on high, DLSS, my skills not being very good because I haven't played this in a while. The thing that I noticed the most though is that the overall responsiveness is definitely much improved versus the older cards, because ray tracing gave you a lower frame rate, we know that, but even when you're playing on like a TV with a capped 60 FPS, turning on ray tracing, it made that pipeline for the GPU that little bit more intense, and it meant that what you were actually feeling just wasn't quite as smooth as you'd like. It was fine for this, but it was always something that felt like a bit of a compromise, where this just feels like a game running at 90 frames a second. But let's try something a little bit more my style. My game, Apex Legends. Yeah, around about 150 to probably around about 170 frames a second with a bit of dipping up and down. I think that they could probably improve this with a driver update, because it's fast. It is very, very fast, but I reckon there's a little bit more room to go in this. Probably getting around about, what, 30 frames a second-ish more than before. We'll have to do some proper benchmarking later. And when it comes to aiming and basically getting that winning kill, it should now be that little bit easier. And of course, don't forget that this is a cheaper card. This is 2080 money, but you're getting much greater than 2080 Ti performance. Yeah, this is good. But if you're looking for some serious frame rates, you're gonna wanna look at Doom Eternal, because right now, I don't think I've really dropped below 190 frames a second. This is absolutely insane. Just look at that frame rate right now. We just got 260 for a second there. It's mad. This is what fluid gaming is all about, and this is what the 2080 is up against. This is what the 3080 can do. And for our last, still ray trace title, we have Wolfenstein Youngblood. And I did not expect this level of frame rate, because this game looks incredible. Yeah, I'm getting 160 frames a second. This is DLSS, ray tracing. So there we are then, our RTX 3080 PC. Not only does this thing look incredible, it's got loads of airflow, But when it comes to the thing that matters, its gaming performance, it absolutely kills it. I definitely think that it has become quite apparent that if you have a title that has DLSS, you're able to get a much higher frame rate. DLSS 2.0 works a whole lot better than the first generation. I'm really excited to see where this goes, but especially when you combine it with ray tracing, you're basically able to have your cake and eat it. And I think for so many people, that's what put them off the 20 series, that you sort of had to make the choice between visuals or performance, and then that performance jump wasn't actually that high. Whereas this, it's so impressive, and I can't wait to do more testing. Let me know your thoughts though down in that comment section below. If you do want to check out current pricing or more information on any of the parts featured, you can find them all linked down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.